with liberty and justice for all.
Call this meeting, West Burlington City Council, to order. Roll call, and we're being joined by phone from Councilmember Melanie Young.
Christie?
Here.
Crowner?
Here.
Heitmeyer?
Here.
Lees?
Here.
Young?
Here.
Okay. Need to perfect and approve the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
It's a motion with support. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Crowner?
Aye.
Heitmeyer?
Aye.
Lees?
Aye.
Young?
Here. Yeah, aye.
Christie?
Kathy?
Aye. I didn't hear my name.
Christie?
She was kind of quiet on that.
I can hear.
Consent agenda.
Motion to approve is presented.
Support.
There's a motion with support to approve consent agenda items 1 through 5, which are the minutes from the regular city council meeting on August 4th, 2021. Approve Officer Schluter's attendance at Celebrite Certified Operator and Physical Analyst Training. Approve the clerk's monthly financial report for June 2021. And approve the following claims. Municipal Solutions, Iowa Department of Natural Resources, Iowa Municipal Workers' Compensation, McDonald's Supply, Skelly Tree Service, Southeast Iowa Garage Door Specialist, and approve the claim list for August 18, 2021, in the amount of $342,379.67. Any discussion? Roll call.
Heitmeyer?
Aye.
Lees?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
Christie?
Aye.
Crowner?
Aye.
Motion carried. We'll go to staff reports, and Greg, you're on.
Just two quick items, and I'm going to tag team a little bit with Mike here in a second. Just an FYI, the trail grant for the COVID state rec trail grant, the city was not successful. It appears that most of them were in counties. Connectivity between trails and recreational areas seems to be the focus this year. Local option sales tax, good news on that front, though. City budget at $535,000. Current estimate, or as of June 30, we were at $642,593. Our estimate for next year is $646,478, but we typically get a catch-up. So if it's of a similar range, we could be up to closer to $750 if the trend continues in local option sales tax. So good news on that front. And with that, I'll jump in later.
Any questions for Greg?
I just wanted to say something. Thank you very much for your weekly updates. That's a ton of information, and I enjoy getting it, so thank you.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
They are great.
Thank you.
All right, Mike, you and Greg can tag team each other.
All right, just got a couple of things on projects to catch you guys up. We got the crosswalks painted, been replacing some valves. I got a couple hydrants broke that we're getting in. We'll be doing hydrant work too. Cleaning up after storms. It seems to be the routine every week around here this summer. Tower floor's been poured. The next part of that is the steel crew will move in September 5th to start assembling the bowl, welding it together on the ground. It'll get painted and then raised up, and then the floor and the top will get welded on. Lewis Park, they're supposed to be by Friday, have the top end of metal or poured back, and that'll seal the new walls, the top street, and the rock in the base will be in, so they have everything they need to start tying in the pavers, and then they'll start laying the pavers on the street. So it's moving along too. South Lift, we met with Tom's Backhoe and the engineers. We got some issues down there with the new pumps we're trying to work out. They're supposed to be here tomorrow to rotate some things, and things that aren't right that we got to get fixed before we ever get to closing the project out. Ballard and Wheeler's poured and backfilled. Swartz and Wheeler is poured. Subdrain will be going in next on that, and then they'll backfill and seed that, and those two projects should be ready to be closed out. Landfill, the seeding window opened up. Graf was notified of that. They're supposed to come back and do their seeding where they need to seed, and I need to have them clean out the culverts on Mount Pleasant again because the seed didn't take, and my culverts are half shut again from all the rain we've been getting, so we're going to have them clean them out and reseed on those. We'll move over to the handout on the rain issue. We had over 5 inches of rain in an hour and a half on the 11th. Streets were flooded, lift stations were on, and sewers were beyond their max. They couldn't take any more. The east lift station, when we opened the door, you couldn't even see the floor. There was 7 foot of water with all 3 pumps coming in. That's how much water was coming into that lift station. Same at the west. It was running at max, trying to keep up. The water level in the east, this was at 8:30 when the rain quit. It took till 1:30 p.m. to get back down to the floor where we could see the east again. The west was still running 2 pumps at that time. And at the next, I'll move over to the other chart, the other paper where it's highlighted in yellow. This is an average since we had the new SCADA system in at the sewer plant, 2018, 19, 20, and 21. So that gives you an average, a daily average per month that's coming into the into the treatment plant. And as you can see, around here, the rain's just more and more, and that just keeps increasing and increasing. Down there in the blue, you can see that on the 10th, we pumped 455,000 gallons into the plant. The day we got the 5 inches plus, we pumped 3,814,000 gallons. And as you can see, it took 3 to 4, sometimes it takes a week to get back down to where we are back to average flows. After a rain event like that, like I said, it takes close to a week to get back down to our average. We had 4 pumps like we always do in Midtown, trying to relieve pressure off lines because they couldn't drain to try and stop backup in basements. There still was some issues here and there. We can't save everything. We had 7 employees here working that day, trying to man pumps, fuel pumps, pick up trash, sweep limbs, trees. It took 3 days to clean up everything by the time something like this happens, and that just backs my schedule up 2 to 3 days every time we have an event like this, trying to get caught up. And like I said, a lot of it is, this year is just Mother Nature. We just can't stop getting rain when you don't go far north, and they got brown grass. But I don't know, I mean, this time of year my yard's always brown and I'm not mowing, and that's the other thing. I still have 2 people mowing 40 hours a week, mowing and trimming. I can't get caught up on the mowing to stay where I don't have the parks looking terrible. It's just been one of them years. There, I'll pass it on to Greg. He's got some more to go with this.
In between, Mike came and picked me up, and we went and took a quick tour, and then we've been talking with our engineers, with DNR, and amongst ourselves to address or to identify some projects coming forward. We want to just apologize. Not all these photos are great, but we'll run through them real quick. This is lures. You got at least a 12 by 12.
It's a 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 culvert that goes under Mount Pleasant Street right across from Keystone. And that showed you in that rain that's how much water's flowing towards Isaac Walton. And the bad thing is when it hits the railroad tracks, it's diverted down to a 3 or 4 foot culvert. That's why we had the backup.
And then on that side, the outlet is underwater.
The outlet's underwater because the lake is silted in. So I have still trying, we've been trying for years to get a meeting set with the railroad. I think I've got some headway. I got the county on board. I'm trying to get them and us all in a meeting to identify the problem and see what we can do about
This is likely the number one issue.
Yeah.
Because if this backs up, that's
what I've got across to the railroad in the county. If this backs up, this water that comes through Lures comes all the way from the overpass on Gear by Farm King. All the freeway ditches and everything come down to Broadway. Broadway goes through Long Meadow, over here to Houston, to there. That day this happened, those lines were all full too, so on Broadway it was coming over through the fence, over the grass, running down Van Wees, people complaining to me, flooding their yards, water going in their basements. If that railroad pipe was ever to collapse, this whole city would be, people just don't understand the disaster part, what could happen. So that's why I'm trying so hard to work with them and come up with a plan.
timing was good too. FEMA just sent out or Gina sent out some information on some potential FEMA sources. So just Just another picture of lures to give you a sense of the amount of water. This is flooding.
Huffman's over on
Yep.
Agency, everything was backed up.
Same area. See the amount of water coming down. It's not great. This one, there's a bit of a glare, but this is Pennington, and the water is gushing off there to the left, out from underneath those trees and across, over to the creek eventually. But that whole area is flooded on the right-hand side. This water is deep, and that pipe is
floods
it's just gushing out of that pipe.
This will flood behind the concession stand at the pool. That whole field goes water. This comes from the freeway too. I did hike through all the timber and trees today on the GE side, and this water is coming from, all the runoff from GE is funneled into this, their whole parking lot, so any rainwater on there comes into a swale to this. It goes pipes under GE, comes down the railroad tracks all the way from Agency, and I'm not sure, I didn't walk from Agency past Lowe's, but I think the way the land lays, all this water, so people just don't understand how much runoff comes to Lures Park.
This is that same area. It's a little blurry, but you can see that the ponding that's going on. This is on the left-hand side as well. And this would make an ideal location for a wetland, which can handle a lot more water. However, this is on private property. This is at the park or the pool. You can see the ponding as well here. Was this the pipe at the pool? I think this was at the...
That's Pennington again, just another shot of Pennington.
Pennington, yeah, we went back and got Pennington. See it just gushing out of there. And then Public Works had 4 of these set up, and you can see how much water we're pumping. How long are those pumps running for?
They run from, we were out in the rain putting them out probably at 8 o'clock until 2 to 2:30 in the afternoon before we got the last pump shut down.
Right. Just to give you an idea of how much how much water they're dealing with. We'll plan to go into this in more detail, but I just wanted to identify some of the projects that we thought of, that we're thinking of so far. And of course, we have an I&I problem. Public Works has been working on that I&I problem. We're confident we have, illegal connections as well, but they've been focusing on manholes and sealing manholes and I&I. But there's a number of projects, and there's a number of partners that we're going to have to work with. DOT, GE, private property owners, the mall, and IDNR, conservation. Did I mention IDOT? I mean, there's a number of folks that are going to be involved in various components of these projects. Lures is obviously high on the list. This whole area from Broadway to the off-ramp onto Gear, it fills up with water and heads to Broadway into Lures. So this is one area we're going to want to talk to DOT about, potentially reversing the flow of that, heading it over to the retention center, or retention basin, and try and reduce the amount of water going towards Lures. Mike mentioned over here, this is that GE area. If we can retain that water better, or ABB, excuse me, we can, if we could retain that water on site and let it, and slow it down, that would certainly be a benefit. On this side, adjacent, it would be a little more difficult to work with the DOT but there is some potential to do some retainage on this side of 34 as well. This area here is where that park area that floods, and behind the park, I guess, and is private property, and that's excuse me, that'd be a very good location for wetlands. But I mean, obviously, we'd have to talk to the owners. Wetlands can hold a lot more water than some of the other solutions like bioswells or biocells, and And then Pennington, here, that water is coming out here, and this whole area here is flooding as well. And we've discovered one cell on the other, opposite side of town behind Target. That bioswale has no water in it, basically. So we got to figure out why that's not working as well. But, so we have, we've been trying to identify a number of the key areas, lures being the top issue, but there's a number of areas where it's much easier to address above ground and from a cost perspective, and there are some funds available through DNR and other sources, and hopefully, and maybe FEMA as well, to help us deal with some of these issues. We had DNR on site for the Lures project, and those are clean water dollars, so that sponsored project funds. We were looking at, it needs to be done relatively quickly, be able to be designed quickly so that we can maximize the dollars for that. Whether that ends up being that housing project if it moves forward, that a bioswale adjacent to that housing project, or even potentially, Broadway. And there's opportunities to utilize pavers and other pieces as well, and that road needs work anyways. So we're looking at some options because we need to get this done in the short term because those funds come from the interest that we pay off that loan. So in order to maximize dollars, you want to get the project approved or amended as quickly as possible. So this is just it in a nutshell, and we want to let you know that we are working on it, and we'll come back with some more details, hopefully some funding solutions, some better estimates, but this is a problem that's rapidly rising to the top of the pile. So.
And just so that all citizens and everyone listening, we do understand the problem. We are working on it. I had a lot of calls, people, why don't we have bigger sewers? Why don't we have this? There's literally no town designed to take almost 6 inches of rain in an hour and a half. I don't care what town it is, it's going to flood. Burlington had the same issue that day, the same as we did. I'm sorry that water got in some people's basement, but there's no town designed to take that. And as many of them as we've had this season, because the ground is saturated, so we're actually getting nothing to soak in. It wasn't local to just your house or his house. This was citywide. Gear Avenue was shut down, flooded out by Fast Break into College, and people submerging their cars. I mean, it was literally the whole town. It wasn't just one. Don't think you were localized. You were the only one with water or issues. It was everywhere.
Any questions or comments for Greg or Mike?
I had something else for Mike, but if somebody's got something else on water, I'd like him to go first.
Go ahead.
I thought it might be a good time to talk about the leaf drop-off again, now that we're getting pretty close here, and just see if there's been any solutions talked about that for this year and what we're thinking.
I'm trying to find out the demo, because I think the best place would be, we have 3 small bins at the old water shop across from Deary Brothers, and Boomerang has said they're going to demo and said they're going to demo and done locates. They haven't done it. We still can't use that site because they'll be raising a tower and stuff, so that'll be off. I don't know, we need to discuss this, I guess, in-house with Greg and stuff, and pick a date when we know the leaves are going to start, and we'll have to come up with a plan on how we can do it, if we're going to pick up leaf bags this year instead, or if we can get them to dump there, or something like that. I don't know. We'll have to get on that.
I just wanted to bring it up again. I didn't expect an answer tonight, but if we could revisit that. And back on the water deal, I just want to say, number one, thank you, because I feel like this has happened a lot in the past.
It has.
And I'm not sure we ever had that much information and that big of a conversation about it. So that's a good thing that we're finding the problems. I have one follow-up on it is the pipe you talked about on the north side of Mount Pleasant after it came through Lures. Is that, and that's part of the railroads, that's not ours?
Yeah, it's that culvert goes all the way. I got Greg some pictures, but from Austin, they weren't very good, but that parking lot wasn't always there. There was a tree line and a creek, and then that slowly developed, and Ideal added to the culvert. So we're down to roughly from me to that wall, I would guess, where that you come out of the culvert, and then there's a culvert going under the railroad tracks. And that is reduced. That old brick line culvert going under the railroad tracks is only a 3 or 4 foot culvert. So you're taking a 10 and 12, shoving it in here, And that's,
Yeah.
it just can't get through there.
But it's not ours, and we don't have an easement there, it's
No.
theirs, and.
That's why we've,
But Mike has made contact with the
I've made
railroad.
contact again.
As well as conservation, because it's just, it's a trickle-down effect. And so Mike's been making contact with those two individuals and
trying
hopefully.
to, work with them. I said, whether it's them, us, all three, whatever funding we can find to do something. This isn't something new. Previous Public Works Director, Randy Fry, he's been working on this for years, trying with the railroad, getting nowhere. Matt Walker's been trying. It's just hard to deal with the railroad. You can't get somebody to give you an answer or call back. But I just stressing my concern that when this happens, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
People don't understand that park will fill up to West Burlington Avenue, clear up to the top of Meadow. Mount Pleasant Street will be gone. All that water coming the freeway has nowhere to go but down Broadway, Van Wees. And that will go on for days, because if that collapses, they can't fix that in 2 or 3 hours. So it's been brought up and brought up and brought up, and just trying to make everybody here, all the new people, aware of it again, and the urgency that we really need to work on this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Jess?
I got a couple things. Bryce graduates the academy this Friday. We'll be going up to it. It starts at 2 p.m. Then he will start his FTO with Officer Schluter. I talked to Sergeant Melson tonight. They are going to do a GTSB grant with Burlington and Des Moines County Sheriff's Department. State troopers get involved with it. They're going to do that next Tuesday. Multi-jurisdictional will be from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So you'll see a lot of squad cars out, state funded. I have a department meeting next week, and I've been talking with the task force quite a bit, talking about some projects going on and trying to deal with some issues that we're having, so.
Anybody have anything for Jess?
Yeah, what exactly are you talking about next Tuesday night?
Every year we get Governor's Traffic Safety Bureau. Every year we have to do a multi-jurisdictional workforce, and we're doing it next Tuesday right before school starts. Just high traffic, high law enforcement presence, looking for OWIs, speeding, seat belts, all those. So we typically pick a couple different locations in town here, then we'll move to Burlington, and sometimes we move out in the county. So, I mean, if you go south of town, if you go north of town, they might be hitting north of town this year because of the construction, just trying to get people to slow down. Number one killer every year is speed on highways, and that's another big thing that we've been really trying to focus on, is speeding out on the highways during this time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty. With that being said, it's going to be a pleasure for me to swear in our new police officer. Bruce? You need to get your dad in here, or is that your dad? Don't want him to miss it. Spend some time at the academy.
Oh, yeah, looking forward to it.
Get the right hand this time. Don't forget the right hand this time.
I usually don't make them raise their hands.
That's not real.
All righty. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Bruce Billings Jr.,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties
discharge all the duties
of the office of police officer
of the office of police officer
in the city of West Burlington, Iowa,
in the city of West Burlington, Iowa,
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now or hereafter is required by law.
Congratulations. And who's going to do the pinning? You can come over here. Come around. We got Dennis here. I always want somebody to stick somebody.
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna get a picture of you. You'll get to do this again. This is just practice. You'll get to do this again at the academy. All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. And you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting. Kelly, I'll have some papers for you to sign tomorrow.
Okay.
All righty. Sean?
I was gonna send Jesse the pictures I took. On the building side, I've been gone for a little while doing some training. I'll cover that on the fire side. But on the building side, went out, identified approximately a dozen properties in town where I understand we've had a lot of rain, like Mike and Greg talked about, but it's also been dry enough that you can get your lawn mowed. So notices will be going out on those. We've got a couple that they like to mow their front yard, but never their backyard. So I've sent them reminders before. I've also sent lawn crews over to mow those. So I'm continuing efforts on those. I am happy that the one property found somebody to get them taken care of, so I don't have to keep sending notices, it seems like every other week, to get their lawn mowed. Kind of become my catchphrase driving around town playing lawn cop. I've got a couple vehicles that I'll be dealing with, abandoned vehicles or broke down, abandoned by our city code. Mike identified a couple areas where we've got some tree overhangage. Just want to remind everybody that's listening or watching, city code says 13 foot 6 inches if it overhangs a street, 8 foot if it's a sidewalk. The homeowner is responsible to keep those trimmed back. So I don't think you want to be scratching a fire truck that goes through there. I know of one department this year already out in western Iowa that had its aerial device damaged by low-hanging tree limbs, and basically the insurance company totaled it. That's not something we could use here. So for the most part, they keep them trimmed back. I'm proud of that, but we do have a couple that are overhanging, need to get addressed. I did have some calls on flooded basements as well, just to notify me that they're going to be setting out excessive amounts of garbage that was property of theirs that was ruined in the floods. On the fire side, FDIC, we went to that training. That was a success. The guys I took with me broke up, took some different classes. Each one of them every night afterwards, we'd sit down and do a round table at the hotel and just talk about what they learned that day, what they picked up information, and we'd discuss how it would actually roll into our department, how we could apply it. They all had good ideas, brought back some things, and through our connections that I keep maintaining out there, we looked at some new innovations for communications. That's one of the areas that Jesse and I have identified with our training that get our guys working on that will help improve our communications. We also visited with several vendors and received it's approximately $1,000 for this unit. It's step cribbing that we would use during a motor vehicle accident if we had to use extrication equipment. It's something we were looking at wanting to purchase, and in talking with the vendors, the guys that I was with, that I took out there, initiated the contact and then brought me over, explained the product to me, and proud to say that they donated one of their kits to us and we brought that back. So it's a pricey trip, I understand that, but it also we do reap some pretty good benefits out of it as well going every year. And then fire calls, we're still averaging over 50 calls a month between medical and fire. That's not unusual for our area. It still keeps us in, not a number I'm proud of, but at the same time keeps us in the top 100 for responses in the state of Iowa. Which, when you think about it, there's over 700 fire departments in Iowa and we're in the top 100 and we're making it work. I do have two applications. I have one phone call to return and I have one applicant that we're looking at. So we do have a couple guys that applied. We're currently sitting at 22. We've got one member that accepted a position with Burlington Fire Department, but he's going to try and stay on if he's able to. And so if he does end up having to leave, that'll take us down to 21, but like I said, I've got 2 that we're possibly looking at.
Any questions for Sean?
Off the top of your head, Sean, how many of those 50 calls were medical, do you know?
Put it right around 30 to 35. That's about what we average, is right in that range.
Seeing a lot of COVID calls, or?
Starting to see a little uptick. Starting to see a little increase on that. And we're still taking precautions when necessary. If we know it's a COVID call, the guys are supposed to be wearing their masks. I do know the calls I've been on with Burlington, they're wearing them pretty much on every call. We'll wear them if we believe it's a COVID-related one.
Any other questions or comments? Kelly, you got anything going on?
No, I'm listening. I didn't realize we had that many, but I appreciate the update.
Okay. Angie, you got anything going on?
The audit was moved back to the week of the 30th of August. Trying to get that all under wraps and together. Just a lot of stuff going.
Kathy?
Nothing tonight.
Andy?
Oh, let's see, set in on the CBB meeting down at the chamber. Was that just yesterday? Jeez, the day has been long. So that was going well. They've got a new CBB director coming in at the chamber here pretty soon. They've hired that position. And they're getting ready, pretty much focused on sports marketing at the moment. So the courts that are going to be built out at Pizzazz is the main focus at the moment for CVB.
Nope, nothing. Trace?
I'm good.
All right. And Melanie, I hope you're enjoying your vacation.
So far, so good, thanks.
All righty. I'll open up the floor to anyone wishing to address the council on matters that are not on the agenda tonight or are on the agenda tonight. Okay, nobody running to the microphone? Mr. Teeter?
I've had some issues addressed already, thank you.
Okay. New business. Item number 1 is to consider the payment to Snyder Associates for engineering services related to the following projects. Des Moines County Landfill Lift Station, the amount of $6,756.85. Lewis Park Sponsored Project in the amount of $15,748.94. And the Mount Pleasant Water Tower and Booster Station in the amount of $14,537.09.
Motion to approve.
Support.
It's a motion with support. Any discussion?
Your Honor?
Yep.
I just wanted to bring up the water tower real quick, and the logo, did we want to?
Oh, the logo.
Right. So as part of the specs for the water tower, the city logo will be placed on there on one location facing Mount Pleasant Street. If you're familiar with the tower on Agency that Burlington has, just the block lettering, we can save $5,500 if we would rather just do the block lettering versus the city logo. Or we can continue as planned, and we provided them a copy of that as well. So if there was a consensus to move forward, I'd certainly appreciate that, or as is, so.
I'd save the 5,500.
I would save it.
So just put up the West Burlington block lettering?
Yep.
For
Will the color
$5,500.
be green or will the color be black?
Yes.
Is that?
Green.
See?
The West Burlington green, we have that color.
Yeah.
As long as it's green.
Still the block lettering and save the 5,500?
Yes, instead of putting up the logo.
Gotcha.
All right, let's vote on these things. Roll call on the,
Whitemeyer.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
That motion carried, and then we'll do a formal vote the next time on the logo, or block lettering.
might be a change order, come out of the change order.
It'll be an official
Change
change order, but I need to give them heads up to change to the block lettering, and they have the accurate green that they provided us.
All right, item number 2 is to consider purchase of water valve exerciser for the Public Works Department in the amount of $10,099.25.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion with support. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Hightmeyer,
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 3 is consider authorizing $15,000 in expenditures for improvements to the fire department training site.
So moved.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion? Roll call.
Young,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Nay.
Hightmeyer,
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 4 is to consider wastewater treatment agreement with Des Moines County Landfill for the treatment of leachate. And agreement went out in the packet. Anybody have any questions on that? It's pretty much what we agreed to long time ago.
This is required by IDNR as part of the treatment agreement is. This just details the specifics, the requirements based on our permit, the fees. We'll have to send them a notice of the fees if they change in advance, and addresses violations.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion? Roll call.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Hightmeyer,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 5 is consider payment to Boomerang Corporation for work completed on the Mount Pleasant Water Tower and Booster Station project in the amount of $96,615.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion with support. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Crowner,
Aye.
Hightmeyer,
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Christie.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 6 is to consider temporary staffing changes during the finance office training and reorganization. And Greg, you can lead us into this.
Absolutely. Attached, you have the proposal from Cindy Kendall to assist with training. It's an hourly amount, and she's laid out a plan of action that could be tweaked. We're looking to schedule a 2 to 3 day visit on site. First session would be to discuss the audit, but then 2 to 3 days on site to just kind of review everything and kick things off with Cindy. I think that would be an asset to this immediate asset to the city here. So you have the staffing adjustments noted here that we're looking for council approval on with the finance administrative assistant. Angela's doing an excellent job. I know it's a bit stressful and there's a lot going on, especially this time of year, which is why we're looking to bring in Cindy Kendall. She's been working with Iowa State and Iowa League for a long time, and she's certainly an expert on topic. We've also been talking with our advisor from Spear Financial as well. But she certainly deserves credit for the work that she's been taking on in this time, and it's much appreciated. We'd like to, also in temporary, same time frame, basically through February, hire a part-time employee in finance as well, ideally focusing first on accounts payable, claims, and ideally payroll as well. I do have a potential intern that may be able to come in and help as well. I thought we'd hear today, hopefully we'll hear tomorrow, but that would certainly be helpful. We talked about adding just an hour and a half to our administrative assistant out at the front desk to take on all of the additional police duties that Angela was handling so she can focus on finance. And I had an estimated cost of $5,000 with working with Cindy Kendall, but this is basically an hourly amount that she's provided us, and as she notes in her memo that, you know, we can use her if we end up not needing her to the degree we need her, she's just fine with that as well. But I thought for an initial amount, I have something to work with, plug that in. But we'll really have a better idea when she's on site for 2 or 3 days and can help us help us work with staff. So, any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And we're saving money. So.
Greg, that was a nice summary you provided as an overview sheet. My question was, is Kathy available during the time periods that you would want her there?
Kathy? Cindy?
Yeah.
Are you referring to?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Cindy, you're right. Cindy,
Yes, yes. Yes, we've spoken to Cindy and had a joint conversation with Angela, Kelly, and myself, and then Angela's had at least 1 or 2 follow-up calls with Cindy as well. Immediately touch base on the audit and then schedule the 2 to 3 days and get her in as soon as possible on that. So she is ready, able, and willing.
That's great, that's great. And then a follow-up question regarding a temporary assistant. Have you been, any feelers out? Is there somebody or someone, or is there available work pool to pull from to meet that need?
We have one candidate, we've posted it as well, and we also have the potential for the intern, which I hope pans out as well. And I think the intern would be able to focus on cleaning things up, the filing, getting things ready for payroll or excuse me, for accounts payable or claims, et cetera. But we'd come up with a work plan for them that meets their educational goals.
Cool, thank you, thank you.
So do you want just one
Motion.
motion?
Unless there's changes, that would work.
Yeah.
I make a motion to consider the temporary staffing changes as listed here in hiring Cindy Kendall.
Support.
Motion with support. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Hightmeyer.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Christie.
Aye.
Crowner.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 7 is to have a preliminary discussion of American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. As you can see in the memo, we're going to receive $430,678.38 over the next year and a half. I think it's a 2-year program. Actually, it's already coming up. Half the year's gone. It'll be split into 2 payments of $215,339.19, and we need to have some kind of discussion on what to do with this. There's a lot of different uses that you can have for infrastructure, such as helping to pay down the water tower.
Actually, no. So there's basically 2 uses, projects. You can't pay down existing debt.
Existing debt, but you can.
For example, we could not bond additional dollars for a project going forward. So example, or if the RISE grant were to go through and the council were to approve that project, those funds could offset the city's share of that road project, or any stormwater projects. Well, I got to do a little more research on the stormwater piece, but, so you can put this money towards projects, new projects, or to, basically to not borrow. And I'm not bringing any recommendations specifically on those projects going forward. We were estimating about $400,000. As you know, we received our official notice that we are actually receiving a little over $430,000, and actually we received that deposit today for half of it. In the meantime, we've identified a couple issues. Technology is one other area that can be utilized, and as long as you can make a COVID relation and tie it to COVID. On here are two items, and one that Brad has brought forward, and I'll let him certainly speak to as well. Another that is a Tyler component that would allow for accounts payable and payroll. Is that correct, Angela? I'll let her touch on that. But to do that more efficiently in-house and remotely as well. This will save us time and money, and the one component works with the entire Tyler system, and that it allows us to add the documents as attachments to each of the claims, for example. And it makes it significantly easier to track and to track down claims that have been paid, and there's a number of ways that we can save time and money. We wanted to bring these forward. One, we have a bit of an emergency, and two, we really think the second item will provide a benefit and a cost savings and a time savings for the finance department, and actually for all of our departments. They'll be able to do claims electronically. So, you want to start, Brad?
Yep. So as you probably read in my memo about the storage array, those Dell storage arrays that we decided to forego maintenance agreement on about approximately 3 years ago, they wanted $80,000 for 3 years, which is why we foregoed the maintenance. Well, we have 2 hard drives that go bad, so I purchased the exact hard drives that needed to go into it, but it turns out that Copilot, which is the support, has to generate a file to put on that drive, so when you put it in, it ties it to that machine. And because I can't generate that file, I can't make the storage array work, which the only thing I can think of is that was their way to try to make us do the maintenance agreement. I can't think of any other reason why they would have to generate that file, but so we put forth together a package on a Synology unit that would not require anything proprietary. We could get any off-the-shelf stuff to go with it. But yeah, we couldn't afford to renew the maintenance on that storage array at the time. It was $80,000 for 3 years. It was $38,000 if we went yearly, and we couldn't afford it.
This system is expandable as well in the future. The Synology is an excellent brand as well. Just, I guess, to be really clear about the importance of this piece, Brad, as well, if you could touch on that. But essentially, this is the hub to our entire system. We have a piece located, a section here and out at Public Works, and this is where everything resides on this system and connects everything that we do. And the plan that Brad has come up with, as you can see, is significantly better. I believe it's a better approach. I'm very familiar with Synology as well, and it is not dependent on annual maintenance. I think this will be a system that we'll be able to have for the long term and save a substantial amount of money.
Yeah, it's very expandable, so if we run out of bays in there, we can buy what are called shelves that go underneath it, that you can then add more drives into to expand on storage. But to touch the importance of the storage array makes it so we can attach that, so it's not attached to a single server. So if we have one fail, we can bring it up relatively quickly on an additional server. So that's the importance of the storage array, and it's basically holds all of our data. So all our financials and everything are stored on these drives. The reason why we do two is we have one here local on site, and then we also have one on the street shop that we replicate them to, so that way we have them in two places. So if one goes down, it comes up automatically online and takes over from there, so we can keep doing business. I'm really disappointed in the Dell storage array because it's a great piece of equipment. It's just, and it would have lasted us many more years have I been able to just put a drive in it.
Just so I'm hearing you right, because I've never seen that since maybe IBM days. So
Yeah.
you cannot physically add a drive to that array without paying the maintenance agreement, is what you're saying?
Yep, it's what it comes down to is there has to be a file that they generate that goes on that drive that ties it to that. And then what even is worse is, so the file that they make ties it to that device, right? And then when I put it in a bay, it then ties it to that bay. So if I take it out and put it in a different bay, it won't even work in a different bay on that same device.
This is the same system that the county went with?
A long time ago, yeah. They've had a couple since then. They're on NetApp now is
Oh,
who they
okay.
use.
They've,
We
so
can't
they've
afford
switched,
to-
they've switched subsequently as well.
Yeah, they switch all the time. We just don't have the money to be able to do that, so.
I think this is a system, it's a well-known brand, I see it lasting a long time, and it doesn't have the maintenance agreements that we've had. So these are the two main reasons that we came forward. I'm going to let Angela touch on this tonight. This was the main reason we wanted to bring this forward tonight. I think it's important that we preserve at least that $400,000 so the council can consider how best to use that on project dollars, but you can use it on technology dollars. This issue has come up. It's not a budgeted item as well. Angie, do you want to touch on the content management and the additional Tyler component?
So Tyler has a module, electronic purchase order module. And what that does is the department heads go into Tyler, they do a request of what they want, it has to be approved. Then we'll create a purchase order and then they can, purchase the item. I believe that you can go in and manually do it for items that you purchased at like Huffman's or Menards or places like that. So that way the department heads fill in, the accounts, mark whether it was a budgeted item or not a budgeted item, can keep track of what their budgets look like. But on the time-saving end is the only thing that the finance office is going to do. All the information is already going to be in there. So when the invoice comes in, they just enter in the invoice, print the check, and it's pretty well done. The content management portion of it is it's gonna make it to where we can start digitalizing things. The invoices will go into the Tyler system, will be attached to that purchase order. So instead of having to go in the back and dig through all the files, it's automatically already going to be there electronically. We can store payroll information, employee information. I mean, it can be used for all of the Encode different modules that we have. We did look at the time for employee, but it just didn't seem, I don't think it would have worked well for us because of, the public works guys and the PD wouldn't use it and stuff like that. So, but
Up front on the claims piece, you're essentially eliminating dual work that's being done presently. So you do it once, and you attach the content piece, attaches it, And it can be used with all of our modules on Tyler as well, so that we can attach everything electronically on there as well. But you're eliminating a whole entire step in the process by utilizing this technology.
Because if they don't turn in a purchase order, then you gotta hunt them down and then get a purchase order filled out and get it signed and.
And if you haven't seen our purchase orders, we're still using purchase orders from 30, 40 years ago that are three pages with copies and attachments as well.
Can I add to this too?
Yes, please.
Also, what's great about it is right now I go to the back and I grab a purchase order. You can't even generate a purchase order after $100 because of the way it is, because we can set up workflows until he approves it. So then you can't even generate the purchase order until he approves it. And then when it gets to $1,000, then he's got to click a checkbox that says it's been approved by council. And then it goes through, so nothing gets missed that way.
So the intention is that everyone's moving to this? Like Mike's going to use this too? and-
Yep,
Okay.
or we're even going to train Mike on it, yes, absolutely.
Have you had Mike on the software and had him click around it and?
I just did a demo on it. We haven't been able to poke around on it, but they did say that we can slowly phase it in to different departments if we need to, because people don't like change.
But I'm okay with them having change. I just want to make sure we've made sure it's simple to use and.
I've demoed it and Brad was there and.
For Mike, it's all HTML5 based, so it's web based. So he would log on to a website and literally just fill out some boxes.
It's pretty well step by step on how to do it.
And as long as he has his Tyler open, as soon as he submits it, it pops up down the bottom saying that you have something to review. So, I mean, it's not like it's going to take him forever to approve something and get back to us. He's alerted right away to.
It's actually a lot smoother as well,
Yeah.
because I typically get a stack like this that Angie kindly hands me to review and go through. So we're saving time on multiple fronts here. There will be a learning curve for staff. I mean, this is moving to an electronic purchasing system. It's a common tool. Tyler is probably one of two or three in the state systems that are used widely across. I'm familiar with the purchasing system. It works very smoothly, or the electronic purchasing system. It works very smoothly, and I actually think staff will find it much easier to use than the current system,
Is
actually.
it PC only, or is there an app, or?
It's all web-based, so it can be used on your smartphone anywhere. Not so much the smartphone, because it's still kind of janky on the UI that
What
way.
do you usually have with you, Mike?
Excuse me?
What do you usually have with you? If you're going to do a PO and you're sitting in your truck?
I don't do them, I do them at my desk.
Okay.
All the receipts get put in a basket, and then I come in early in the morning and I sit there and write out all the POs in the morning.
And the other part, the COVID part of it is, it's flaring up again. We've had a couple exposures and keeps people out of the finance office and.
And you'll be able to use it from home as well. And department heads will be able to use it to be able to log into it from home as well. So it keeps the system going in a much smoother fashion remotely as well. So it keeps everything moving. We save time in a number of areas. It'll be much smoother. We can attach documents throughout our entire Tyler software, which we cannot presently do at all. And believe it or not, I think it will be, people will find it to be a much easier and smoother system.
Will you, Mike?
We'll get Mike on board.
What are we planning on like the Synology stuff? Are we voting on this tonight? Are we just discussing it?
Well, we put it on tonight. Obviously, we want to preserve, the majority of the funding for projects for council to make some decisions on when we bring that back to council. The Synology component came up as and is an emergency at this point in time. We wanted to bring the Tyler component up as well as the savings. We put it on for action for those items if council was comfortable moving forward tonight. If not, then we would simply ask that you table it, and if there's additional information that you would like us to bring forward, or if it's not something you'd like to pursue, then we'll need to look at a different route.
these two items would be about $43,000 off of the 430.
I think we'll be able to offset some of it from our budget as well.
I think part of me goes, okay, we're getting this money, so we went out and found a few things that maybe we could spend it on when going through budget, these weren't brought up. So I kind of have a problem with that, even though I'm very much in favor of getting away from paper POs and moving everything digitally if possible. And understand if this server rack issue came up after that. But I think in general, I'm more in favor of using this money for items we've already agreed upon in our budget. That way we have a full discussion of how it fits in the whole year.
Just to be clear, though, the council has not allocated these funds at all.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And Brad, I wouldn't mind having a quick discussion with you at some point, maybe before we do all this Synology stuff. Obviously have some background in this, but you've got more, but.
Right now, all of our stuff is running off of our Synology backup appliance that we use for our backup, so I know the Synology is going to work.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose them. And the way that I bought the Synology is I bought the appliance, and then I bought the hard drives from a different vendor, so I know that I'm okay to buy,
Right.
you know, what equipment I need. I try to buy, within reason, the cheapest I can find, so.
And I've got no here or there about the Synology part. I'm more talking about the current system.
Oh, yeah,
And
so
if
you
we
can
can
see
actually
what it
add a
is.
drive onto it. You know, quick Google search through Dell forums is telling me we just got to buy a proprietary hard drive from them that actually has the file already on it, and then we don't need that maintenance agreement, is what I'm seeing from other people that have had this issue. But,
From Compellent?
yeah.
Well, also, if you also look up too, in a year's time, Compellent, you won't be able to get anything. Compellent is end of life as of right now, and I was told when I had wrote them that I needed a maintenance agreement from Copilot for them to generate that file.
Okay.
I know on the the Tyler stuff, the content manager is something that we have asked for before, because we could use it for utility billing to link stuff, attach stuff. And it was one of the things that was kind of cut out when we were switching softwares. But it is something that we have looked at before. And I think the electronic purchase orders, I talked to several people at this last meeting that I went to, that they're starting to switch to this electronic side of purchase orders.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm very much in favor of that. I just, in general concept, wouldn't matter what we were talking about at this moment. It would be, well, I'd rather, we had a big budget session. We all sat here and talked through priorities. I'd rather we put the money towards the things we all decided were priorities. But even though I'm very much in favor of that in particular.
Just to be clear, though, we've got a real problem if if what we have cobbled together right now goes down regarding the Synology piece as well. I would call that an emergency. The Tyler component is an efficiency item. It will save time, it will save money, and we can certainly bring that up at a later date. But I would, and if there's more information that we can bring back, I'm happy to do that as well. But it is a critical component to our entire system.
A question I have regarding the Synology system, are competitive quotes available for this exact item, or is it a single source? Brad, how? Go ahead.
When I was looking at Synology, I looked at 3 different sources. I looked at CDWG, and then I also looked at this off-brand place in California, and then this place here that I finally chose on was the cheapest in the end. And then that's how I kind of just sent them out what I wanted, and then they came back.
Are they credible?
It's the review. Yeah, the reviews of them are great. It says they got great customer service as far as when I looked at reviews from them.
And so a question just from my own education, as a normal practice, do we get like competitive quotes or 3 quotes or something like that for a certain level of purchases that are proposed?
I don't know, does everybody, I usually do that myself, just for myself, because, I mean, the prices are all over the place, but I don't know, Mike, you probably do the same thing, right? 'Cause I'm sure your equipment.
When I can get 3 quotes, sometimes I can't get
Yeah.
3.
If it's single source, it should be noted as single source and the reason why it's single source. Otherwise, typical process would be to get at least 3 quotes or,
Okay.
If you'd like, I could start attaching the other quotes as well to the.
And I just, as part of my knowledge and stuff, and I'm not asking you to change practice now, but I could, to me, it's a good idea, and if you do it as a matter of practice, and it's a check that the city administrator always looks for something, I'm good with that. But parallel path, thinking of what Angie said about the Tyler system, that'd be a really cool way to attach those quotes that Tyler system, and then you have for historical reference, so you know you competitively quoted it, and then when people like me ask questions, we know, yeah, we did the research, and here's what it is, and a year ago, you know, we have that historical reference. But I don't want to run down a rabbit hole here. One, I'm in favor of the emergency purchase for the Synology system because it looks like we've Band-Aid together what we have and we're getting by. While it's unfortunate, maybe we didn't forecast this during the budgeting last year, maybe we should have. Going with that, it's gotten us by to today. If I could just give us another month before we commit to the funds, that's where I would be at. I'm a bit there with Andy. If we didn't know we needed a year ago and now all of a sudden the money's available, we figured out it's emergency. Maybe that's not the best approach at this time. But I just want a little more time now that I found out we've got $400,000 to go where we think it's best for the city. That's all.
I'm sort of tending to lean toward thinking that if we have an emergency with Brad, that I'm good with that. But I hate to see that we start coming up with other items and kind of chipping away at our 400,000. And I just as soon take care of an emergency situation and then take care of these wants. Maybe we need a work session or something to go over.
I mean, we definitely need to, talk about how best to use these funds. Basically, I've been waiting to hear on some of the grants and the funding that's out there. We're also going to be working on, and I've also been pulling together all of our projects and the costs, and so on and so forth, and getting some estimates for some additional projects as well. So as soon as I get a little bit more information, I was going to bring that project discussion back so that we can have a more complete discussion on that. Now, I guess to throw it out there, I mean, ARPA funds don't have to be used for this emergency purchase. We can purchase it out of Brad's line item. We can try and stay within budget, but knowing that there may have to be a budget amendment later on down the road, and not utilize the ARPA funds. ARPA funds can be used for technology if it's COVID related or projects. So.
Brad, tell me one more time. You're the guy we've hired to be in here and do this, so I'm going to trust your opinion, okay? But you're really sure you're not able to get a new drive on that system?
I did, and I talked to him about it. I found a place in Europe that says they can. When I put my credit card in, it declined my credit card.
Okay.
And so I'm kind of iffy on whether they can or not. If you want me to continue that route, I can try that route.
But as I understand it, this is a guy in a shop in Europe that, I mean, it seems pretty sketchy.
And that's what I did find. I did try calling Copilot, but they said without an active support agreement, they couldn't do anything for me.
I have such a hard time understanding that.
Yeah, and
haven't
what
seen that in a
storage
long
array
time.
have you ever heard of that had to have a stupid file on it to?
And that's
tie
why
it
I'm
to the-
questioning you so much. Please understand
Yeah,
that.
oh, I understand. And it just frustrates me because it's all good equipment, it just needs a new drive.
Okay. Well, if you're to that point, then, okay, I'm on board. I want to make sure we're really to that point of, yeah, there's no way to do this.
Because I'm giving up, right now, we're giving up a hybrid array to go to just a straight SAS array. So we're actually going down a little bit, but I can't justify the money, especially in an emergency time like this, to go with what we have.
And we're not going to notice that much of a difference.
No.
And it's expandable in the future. We
Yeah.
could budget for additional SSD drives instead of traditional hard drives. I mean, but it gets us where we need to be, and we're not going to really notice a difference.
Shouldn't.
No.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the purchase of the Synology storage array in the amount of $23,647.96 plus shipping.
Support.
Your clarification?
Support.
Clarification, Your Honor? ARPA funds or
That's what
IT?
I ask.
Okay.
I would prefer not to use the ARPA funds myself. I think
Do you
we've
have
got
funds
some.
available, Brad?
I would have to look.
I mean, we would utilize the appropriate line item in IT. We would work throughout the year to try and, save money where we can, but there may be a budget amendment that comes forward in the spring during the budget process. Or, we'll certainly look for other funds as well, so.
Let's take them out of your funds, Brad.
And we can always identify ARPA funds later to be allocated in that fashion once we have that broader discussion.
And maybe we can make a list of things that we need to look at with the ARPA funds.
Yes, and the projects specifically, that's what I'm working on. I want to give you more detailed information, though. I'd like to know about some of the funds that we've applied for as well, so that we know where, we have a good idea where those funds, those project dollars can be spent appropriately. And we've also been talking with Spear Financial as well. So we'll bring you back a much more detailed conversation on that.
How soon do we have to spend those funds?
Got 2 years.
Well, the allocation is over a 2-year period, but I believe the spending
4 years.
is it 4 or 5 years? Yeah. I have to look at it.
4 or
I
5
think it
years,
said on
right?
here.
To spend it,
Oh, okay.
the total amount.
Are you revising your motion then?
I revised, well, I didn't
Well, you never
take
did
it out of this
say.
fund.
Okay.
I don't-
Was there a second?
I don't have a second yet.
I second.
Yes.
Motion with support. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer.
Aye. That motion carried, and we kind of jumped from 7 to 8, but item number 9
Thanks, Brad.
is consider purchase of portable scene lights for the fire department.
Motion to approve.
Support. Motion with support. Any discussion?
I did already find them for right around $550, so that will save us about $300-400 from what we had originally planned.
Roll call.
Young,
Aye.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer.
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 10 is consider purchase of a Seek thermal imager for the fire department.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion?
How many of those you be getting?
This will be for 10 of them. I've already talked to the authorized sales rep. It's an FDIC price that they carry over, and this will give everyone on the department their own imager, which they use during overhaul and, like I noted in my memo, worst case. And that was the overall goal when we found these and they came out, was to get everybody that life-saving device.
Good.
So this will actually put us at, everyone will have one.
Good.
Roll call.
Christie,
Aye.
Crowner,
Aye.
Heitmeyer.
Aye.
Lees,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 11 is to consider purchase of the 2021 International Code Council Building Codes, which is a PDF version at $1,264 plus $120 in shipping.
Motion approved.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion?
I have to ask, we have to pay to download the PDF?
It's a PDF red line, it's for, what's the word I'm looking for, but we'll have 4 authorized users for the PDF documents, and the red line showing the difference between the code sections. So Sean will be able to have one here up at the fire station, I'll be able to have one on my desk, and then we'll have to determine where that 4th one will be as well. So it's 4 authorized users.
You get 4 licenses with it. They give you a list of options. You want just soft cover, just hard cover, just PDF. They also have one that Greg asked me about, was the digital version. When you look at the pricing, the digital version up front looks lower, but when we change, how often we change codes, it'll actually come out, we're spending more money on a digital version. With what I'm asking for is the soft cover version plus the PDF/red line, and we get 4 authorized licenses with that, so we can put them on 4 separate units. It'll make it more accessible. I can be out in the field and I can pull it up right away and look at it. In my office, Greg's office, we can have multiple copies here that we're able to access right away.
Can we make the 4th unit like our public-facing website so everybody can see it?
That's one that they got locked on there. You can't do that with their licensing, with the agreement. You can't put it out there for the public. That's how they get you in the end.
Thanks.
Roll call.
Crowner.
Aye.
Hightmeyer.
Aye.
Lees.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Christie.
Aye.
Motion carried. Anyone have any old business, or anyone wishing to address the council on matters that we did discuss tonight, didn't discuss? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I got one thing.
Go ahead, Royce.
Yeah. My seat will be up for re-election this year, and after considerable thought, I've decided I will not be seeking re-election. So I've enjoyed my time here serving the citizens. Been a great time, so. But I've decided it's time to move on and let someone else do it, so I will not be seeking re-election.
Commend you for serving
Yeah.
the years that you did, and I'm gonna be in that same boat.
A lot of years between here and school board both, so thank you.
Yep, 13 years on school board and 4.5 years so
Yeah.
far.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.